Hello everyone, I'm going to talk about Alma Thomas. Alma Thomas was an African American artist best known for her signature style of overlaid planes of colorful thumb-sized rectangles. As Thomas spent much of her career as a junior high school art teacher, she is only loosely associated with large artistic movements like the Washington School of Colorists, which was prominent in 1950s and 60s, and included artists such as Kenneth Noland and Anne Schutz. She said, and I quote, "The use of color in my painting is of paramount importance to me. Through color, I have sought to concentrate on beauty and happiness, rather than on man's inhumanity to man." Thomas is often considered a member of a Washington Color School of Artists, but alternatively classified by some as an artist expressionist. She earned her teaching degree from University of the District of Columbia, known as a minor normal school at that time, and was the first graduate of Howard University's art department, and maintained connections to that university through her life. She achieved success as an African American female artist despite of segregation and prejudice of her time. The American astronauts were the first people to visit the moon, and Armstrong was the first to walk the surface. His famous words were broadcast back to Earth. "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." The astronauts were exploring a new frontier 240 miles away, and the rest of the world could only imagine the experience, but had some insight because of the images shown on television. Thomas was among the fascinated and channeled her interest into her work. She began her space paintings work that imagined the moonwalk views of the Earth's surface from outer space, and Apollo's water landings. After the initial lunar mission, NASA's Apollo program continued until 1972. Over the life of the program, 1968 to 1972, there were 11 space flights throughout the period. Thomas made space painting in her recognizable expressive abstract style. Works such as Apollo 12 Splashdown, 1970, displayed her exuberant use of color and the technical acumen with which she executed countless dabs of paint in rhythmic patterns. Two space paintings are in collection of the Smithsonian's National Air and Space Museum, Launchpad 1970 and Blast Off 1970. The American Art Museum owns 30 works of Thomas. Several are space-related paintings, including eclipse, atmospheric effects, and celestial fantasy. The Smithsonian described her space painting as mostly large sparkling works with implied movement achieved through floating patterns of broken colors against a white background. Born in Columbus, Thomas lived and worked in Washington, D.C. for 35 years. She was a public school teacher at Shawn Junior High, an active artist most of her life. When Thomas retired in 1960, she was finally able to devote herself to practice full-time. She was 68. Long influenced by the beauty of nature, the trees and flower outside her kitchen window, and the National Arboretum, space became her inspiration too. By the time Apollo landed on the moon, she was in her late 70s. It was the end of the civil rights era, and artists were demanding change in New York City museums. In the wake of meetings with the Black Emergency Cultural Coalition, the Whitney Museum of American Artists agreed to present a series of solo exhibitions featuring African American artists in a small lobby gallery. Thomas was among those selected for opportunity, and when her show opened in 1972, she became the first African American woman to have a solo exhibition at the Whitney Museum. Mar Mars Das 1972 was among the work of few. Red Planet was another source of inspiration for her space painting. This particular canvas referenced a major dust storm encountered by NASA's Mariner 9 spacecraft between 1971 and 1972, the largest recorded at the time. A sea of red blobs over the surface of sky blue and dust gray, the Whitney Museum acquired the painting the same year it was made and shown. And these are the three questions. Thank you for listening.